Hello, dear sleepy listener. It's late now, or early, depending on how you look at things. Time, after all, is a strange companion, but tonight, you're not alone. You're right here, and I'm right here, and we're about to wander together not into a place, but into a question, a gentle, cosmic question that has no sharp corners and no need for urgency. What was there before time began? That's the thought we'll drift with tonight, not to solve it, but to soften into it, like moonlight easing across the ocean, like the hush between heartbeats. And before you drift off to sleep, take a moment to like this video, leave a gentle comment about your favourite science moment, and subscribe to continue reading these bedtime stories. If you'd like, share where you're listening from, your city, your stars, your time zone. We're all curled under the same sky, after all. Now, turn off the lights, get comfortable, and let your curiosity drift among the stars. You're floating. Now, just floating. There's no need to hold on. The night is quiet, and your breath is slower than it was. The pillow beneath your head is a kind of planet, and your thoughts are little satellites orbiting gently around you, fading further into the black with each slow blink. And just as your body begins to sink into stillness, a thought arrives softly. What if time wasn't always here? What if, once, long ago, there was no ticking, no moments, no then, no now? What if there was nothing, and not even time to notice it? It's a tender paradox, one that physicists and dreamers alike still cradle carefully in their minds, because you see, the more we understand time, the more it escapes us. Time is everywhere and nowhere. It cradles us and ignores us, and it may not be what we think it is. You float through the idea like mist, because right now, you don't have to define anything. You just have to imagine it with me. Let's go back, not just back in time, but to the very notion of back. The farthest ago we can go, the Big Bang. That's where the official story of time begins. Roughly 13.8 billion years ago, in a state we can't quite imagine. The universe as we know it unfolded from a point of infinite density and temperature, a singularity they call it, a place where our current laws of physics, general relativity and quantum mechanics stop speaking the same language. It wasn't an explosion in space, it was the expansion of space itself. Before that moment, there was no space, no before either, because time itself, its very fabric, unfolded with the Big Bang. And if time itself had a beginning, then asking what came before might be like asking what's north of the North Pole. There is no north of north. There is only the edge and the mystery beyond. Still, you wonder. We all do. Because something in us resists the idea of nothing. Even when we whisper nothing, we picture something, a blackness, a quiet room, a blank page. But nothing before time wouldn't even be black. There would be no space to hold blackness, no void to be empty, no eye to perceive the dark, just absence, a kind of pure potential, a stillness so complete it never knew it was still. And from that stillness somehow, something happened, or at least, something seemed to happen, because time began. You drift now, a little deeper. The bed beneath you holds you like the gravity of a gentle planet. Let your breath rise and fall like the first waves of the first universe. No need to understand. Just let the story unfold. Some scientists think the universe began as a quantum fluctuation, an uncertain wiggle in a sea of nothing. They imagine a timeless, just spaceless field where random chance birthed a bubble of reality, a pocket where time could unfold, and that pocket grew, is growing still. You're inside it now. You always have been. A bubble of moments suspended in a silence we can no longer hear. Others imagine cycles, that maybe the Big Bang wasn't the first, but just one in an endless chain of expansions and contractions. A universe breathing in and out like lungs that span eons. If so, then perhaps time didn't begin once but begins over and over, like tides. And maybe what came before this time was another time, one long gone, or maybe still gently echoing behind this one. But the truth is, no one knows for sure. The very notion of before becomes slippery. Because when you try to measure anything before time, you have no ruler, no clock, no now, and so we return to the question not to answer it, but to lie with it like a lullaby. What was there before time began? Perhaps a question, perhaps a sigh, perhaps only the soft, unborn breath of a universe waiting to be noticed. You can rest now. That thought will hold you and will go further. In time, in timelessness, together, you're still here, gently afloat, drifting not through space, but through thought. There's something beautiful about these hours when the world goes quiet, isn't there? The light dims and the mind softens. It becomes more curious and less certain. You're not trying to hold on to anything now. You're just noticing, letting wonder be enough. And as you rest, that question keeps floating beside us, like a quiet moon following a sleeping sea. What was there before time began? Let's stay close to the edges for a little while. Not the sharp edges, this story doesn't have those. These are soft borders, fuzzy lines, like clouds brushing into sky. Time, in your life, has always had direction. A moment comes, and then it's gone. A second passes, and something is different. A drop falls into water and leaves ripples moving outward. But under the surface of physics, time behaves differently. Some equations beautiful, powerful equations that describe quantum fields and particle behaviors don't need time at all. They're timeless, symmetrical. They describe what is, not how it becomes. The Schrödinger equation, for instance, the heart of quantum mechanics, unfolds probabilities, not certainties. It tells us how likely something is to happen, but not when, not why. Just the mathematical hum of possibility. And in general relativity, time bends. It curves with gravity. It stretches near black holes. It isn't fixed, it's fluid. Your time is not my time. A second for you might not be a second for a falling star. It's almost as if time is local, conditional. And if it's conditional, it can vanish. You drift deeper into the thought. There's no need to resist sleep. Sleep is just another version of timelessness. A place where moments blur and dissolve and return as dreams. So close your eyes a little more. Let your limbs grow heavier and picture this, a universe that doesn't tick. No forward, no backward, no beginning, no end. Just a canvas, stretched in all directions at once. A canvas that doesn't move, but waits. Some physicists believe that time is not a fundamental ingredient of reality, that it is emergent, like a pattern appearing in sand after wind passes over it. Time might be something that arises from relationships, how particles interact, how information flows. In that view, without observers, without complexity, without interactions, There is no time, like music waiting to be played, like a story waiting for a voice. So we wonder, was there something before time, and if so, what does it mean for something to be when nothing changes? This is where science begins to merge with philosophy, where our models and maps go quiet, and all that's left is the soft, humming edge of the unknowable. Some thinkers suggest there could have been a realm, call it a state, a field, a reality where change was frozen, where potential existed, but no motion stirred. It's like being in the stillness before a breath, the hush before music, the space between the lightning and the thunder, a poised silence, not empty but pregnant with everything that could ever be. And then, somehow, a fluctuation, not in time, but into time, one tiny irregularity, one bump in the balance, and from that imbalance change, and from change direction, and from direction time. You stir a little, perhaps, not to wake, but to drift sideways into your dreams. Maybe they too exist outside time, those drifting shapes and impossible landscapes your mind weaves while your body rests. In dreams, a second can feel like an hour, or hours can vanish into nothing. Maybe your dreaming mind is touching some version of that timeless state, or maybe not. No one knows for sure. But what we do know is this consciousness, in all its quiet mystery, changes how we experience time. When you are joyful, it flies. When you are still, it stretches. When you're asleep, it melts away. And perhaps, just perhaps, that tells us something about the universe itself, that maybe time needs a mind to be noticed. So before time began, was there mind? Was there awareness? Or was there only a silence that had not yet imagined sound? We don't know, and that's okay. The knowing is not the point. The wondering is. You feel heavier now, in the best way. Supported, held. Your heartbeat is slower. Your breath is longer. Your thoughts are feather light, and all around you, this vast invisible ocean of time continues to expand. It's expanding right now, while you lie still. The universe is stretching softly, silently, in every direction, making room for every future moment you will ever live. And yet, somewhere, perhaps, outside even that, there was once a place without stretch, without space, without tick, without breath, just presence, without pressure, without history, without time. You're allowed to let go of thinking now. You can let your mind ripple gently, like the fabric of the early cosmos. And tomorrow, or some other time, we'll keep drifting. But for now, the question can hold you. What was there before time began? Maybe something. Maybe everything. Maybe just the quiet. And the quiet is enough. You're still floating, not rushing, not reaching, just gently held in that soft space between wonder and sleep. You've drifted far already without even needing to move. And now, as your breath deepens and the weight of your body melts further into the bed beneath you, we return to that tender question. What was there before time began? It echoes quietly, not demanding answers, only inviting company. We don't need to chase it. We just follow it, like a firefly through a dusky meadow. Let's imagine something together. A single point, not in space, not in time, because space and time don't exist yet. Just a singular something, or maybe not even that, a possibility, a trembling potential. The ancients sometimes called it the primordial void, others The cosmic womb, a place or a non-place where everything that could be waited, not waiting in time, just ready. This isn't before the Big Bang in the usual sense. It's something deeper, the place where before loses its meaning. You're breathing slower now. Can you feel it? That gentle pause between inhale and exhale, that's where we are right now, in that hush. That silence that holds both the breath and the stillness before it. The cosmos may have had a moment just like that. A pause so vast, so full, it needed no clock to define it. A moment or something beyond a moment that held within it all the potential for stars, for galaxies, for you. Some scientists explore the idea of Euclidean time, a mathematical construct where time behaves like space, smooth and curved and without direction. In these models, there's no singular point where time begins. Instead, time emerges smoothly from a timeless geometry. Imagine the surface of a sphere. You can trace your finger around it in every direction, but there's no corner, no edge, no starting line. Time, in this view, is not something that explodes into being, but something that blossoms, softly, naturally, like morning mist rolling out of still air. And still, we ask, where does that first pattern come from? If time is emergent, what is it emerging from? Some physicists call it the quantum foam, a chaotic, bubbling field of fluctuating energies and probabilities at the tiniest imaginable scale. Not a space, not a place, but a field of chance, where nothing becomes something spontaneously. And from this foam, perhaps came the birth of a universe, a spark not caused, but allowed, and in that spark, time begins to count. You might be wondering now, in your own drifting way, how can nothing become something? Isn't that impossible? And the truth is, physics doesn't fully know, but at the quantum level, even nothing isn't truly nothing. It's unstable. In fact, what we call vacuum is still buzzing with activity. Virtual particles appear and vanish, like ghost thoughts in a sleeping mind. The energy of this nothingness is not zero, it's not blank, it's restless. So perhaps our universe didn't rise from a perfect void, but from a sea of uncertainty, a sea that had no waves, until one ripple chose to remain, and that ripple was everything. You're sinking even deeper now. You may not remember these words in the morning, and that's okay. They're not here to be memorized. They're here to guide you gently into forgetting, into letting go, until there's only peace. There's another idea, a quiet one, that maybe the universe had no beginning at all. That time has always existed, or that what we call a beginning is only a turning point, a bend in the road, not the start of the path. In loop quantum cosmology, space and time are not smooth and infinite, they're made of loops, discrete packets, like grains of sand that form the illusion of a shore. In this model, the Big Bang is not a birth, but a bounce. Our universe may have contracted before it expanded, shrunk inward before it bloomed outward, and before that maybe another universe, and before that we can only whisper. But you're not falling into confusion. You're floating into possibility. These aren't answers. They're lullabies of thought, gentle glimpses of a cosmos so much older, so much deeper than we can ever fully hold. And yet you are part of it, made from it, carried by it. Every atom in your resting body was born in stars that only existed because time had a beginning, or didn't. Let that comfort you. You are in a very quiet way, connected to the mystery. You don't have to explain it. You just have to feel it now, in the quiet weight of your limbs, in the rhythm of your breath. The universe may be complex beyond words, but you, lying there, are simple and beautiful and enough. We'll keep floating together. Let's not wake the question. Let it drift beside us, like a sleeping companion. What was there before time began? Maybe no one will ever know, but tonight we'll dream in its direction. You're still with me, still floating, and even if your mind is beginning to blur at the edges, that's okay. This journey isn't meant to be taken wide awake. It's made to drift through, like a feather on a slow moonlit current. You're not walking a straight line. You're spiraling, like galaxies do. Each thought loops softly back into the last, then into the next, and then into the quiet between them. So breathe, let gravity tuck you in, and let's return now to that velvet question. What was there before time began? By now, we've passed through fields of possibility, wandered near the edge of quantum silence, and watched time itself curl into existence. But there's another thought we haven't yet held, one so gentle, so quietly haunting, it almost feels like a whisper from the inside out. What if time didn't begin at all? What if it simply is? Close your eyes, yes, even more now. You won't need them where we're going. Imagine you're floating in a pool so still that you can no longer feel its surface. There's no edge, no bottom, no ripple, and suddenly you wonder, am I moving? Or is the world? That's how time sometimes feels in the realm of deep thought. Not a thing, but a perception. Not a measure, but a movement of the mind. In some theories, particularly in certain interpretations of string theory, our universe might be a brane. That's short for membrane, a thin, vibrating surface that exists within a higher dimensional space. Imagine a cosmic sheet of fabric, and then imagine others like it, fluttering nearby, like flags in a windless void. What if time, as we know it, is simply a property of our brain? What if other universes, other brains experience time differently, or not at all? In that vast landscape of possibilities called the multiverse, our Big Bang could have been the gentle kiss of two brains colliding, a ripple not from within, but from beyond. You are floating now in that thought. It's okay if it doesn't hold its shape, like a dream. It isn't meant to last, only to leave an impression soft as a handprint in water. And speaking of dreams, have you ever noticed how time behaves when you're sleeping? One moment you're in your room, and the next you're on a train made of clouds. Then you're underwater. Then you're waking up, and somehow hours have passed. But inside the dream, did you feel them? No clock ticks in dream space. No calendars count the days. And yet things still unfold. Things still happen. Maybe that's a clue. Some scientists suggest that what we call reality is information, not objects, not matter, but information organized patterns, and time, in that case, might simply be the order in which information is arranged. Like pages in a book, the story seems to move, but all the pages already exist. You're just reading them, slowly, gently, one after another. Maybe the universe is like that too, not growing, just unfolding, and time is the act of reading. You shift slightly, not fully awake, not fully asleep. Your breath is steady now, like a planet spinning quietly in the dark. There's no need to understand this all. No need to hold the logic. You're allowed to let go. The story will carry you. Let's imagine one more thing, just before your thoughts fade into dreams. Some cosmologists speak of a state called Planck time, the smallest unit of time that still makes sense in our physics. It's unimaginably short, so short, in fact, that everything we know particles motion, even causality stops making sense below that scale. Before Planck time, we cannot speak of before at all, because the fabric of reality hasn't been woven yet. It's not just that there was nothing, it's that there wasn't yet a way to say was. You're drifting now, I can feel it. That's good. Let the details dissolve. Let the words become warm fog. Because at the edge of time, at the edge of knowing, there is only silence. And in that silence, somewhere, something stirred, not loudly, not fast, but just enough to make a difference. And from that difference, direction was born. What was there before time began, we may never know. But maybe, just maybe, that question is the first breath of the answer, and maybe you are part of that breath. Sleep now. The universe is still expanding. It doesn't need us to measure it. It just needs us to be. And tonight, that's exactly what you are. Still here, sleepy listener. Still gently cradled by your pillow. Still held by gravity like a leaf caught in the palm of a quiet stream. Good. There's no rush. This isn't a lecture. It's not even quite a story. It's a gentle unravelling, a shared breath. And in this breath, we return again to the question that hums at the edge of all knowing. What was there before time began? Let's close our eyes even deeper now, not to shut the world out, but to let another world in. Because somewhere behind your eyelids, time is already becoming softer. It bends, it fades, it loops and lingers. And still you breathe. Still you wonder. Still you're listening. Tonight, let's follow one more path. What if there is no single beginning, not just one universe, not just one timeline, but a great unfolding, a foam of universes, each with their own rhythm? Imagine this bubbles, infinite, silent, each bubble a universe, some large, some small, some stillborn, some burning bright, and in one of those bubbles, you. This isn't fantasy, it's a branch of science. In the theory of eternal inflation, our universe is just one patch in a vast multiversal field. Inflation is the exponential expansion that happened just after the Big Bang, a burst of unimaginable speed. And according to this idea, that inflation never truly ended. It still happens, endlessly, birthing pocket universes from a quantum field like bubbles rising in boiling water. Each bubble expands, cools, and becomes a universe, each with its own time, its own space, its own possibilities. Some bubbles collapse instantly, some never make stars, some are still being born as we speak, and others are quiet now, faded, forgotten. But we are in one that lasted, one that formed light and galaxies and questions, one where time, like a soft ribbon, unspooled gently enough for eyes to form and turn upward. Now think gently without needing an answer what came before the bubble, before this time, and this sky, and this you. Was there a field that never stopped foaming? Was there a state, not empty, not full, but endlessly birthing beginnings? Your thoughts begin to soften again. Maybe you're not thinking at all anymore, only sensing, and that's good. The deepest questions aren't always solved by thinking, and they're felt, like lullabies in the bones, like memories we're born with. Some physicists speak of the string landscape, a theoretical collection of all possible laws of physics, each realized in its own universe. Our universe might just be one note in a cosmic symphony, a note that happens to be in tune enough for atoms, for oceans, for sleep, and for you. Is that what was there before time, an infinite sea of possibilities? If so, then maybe nothing began, because everything already was. You stir slightly, or maybe it's the blanket that shifts. It's hard to tell where your body ends and the night begins now. Time is thinning, in the best way, like fog lifting to reveal only more mist. And still, the question floats. What was there before time began? We may not be able to see that far, but we can listen, and we can wonder, and in wondering, we make space for awe, for stillness, for peace. You don't need to understand inflation, or strings, or bubbles. You don't need to picture fields that exist beyond space. All you need is this breath, and the knowing that somewhere, somehow, you are part of something older than clocks. You are the result of a pattern that may have no beginning, a ripple in a field that may have never been still. And perhaps you are the universe asking itself one last quiet question before it falls asleep again. Where did I come from? You don't have to answer, just breathe. That's answer enough for tonight. You're still floating. Your breath is slow and regular now, like tides moving across a planet whose name you've forgotten. Because tonight, names don't matter, only the drift. Only the gentle rhythm between thought and sleep, between knowing and simply being. And as you lie there, still sinking softly into this cosmic cradle, we return once more to the shimmer of that question, not to solve it, never to solve it, but to share its stillness with you, like watching snow fall on an empty street, like watching a candle flicker long after the last word was spoken. What was there before time began? Tonight, let's try a new angle. You've heard of black holes, haven't you? Those silent, patient objects in the night sky that seem to swallow everything. Light, matter, memory, even time. But black holes don't just pull things in, they alter time itself. Close to the edge, a place called the event horizon time moves differently. A second for someone near the event horizon might feel like years to someone farther away. It's not just science fiction, it's physics. Tested, measured, real. So what does that mean for our journey? It means that time is not absolute. Time can slow, time can stretch, time can stop. In fact, inside a black hole, time may cease to have meaning at all. And so we wonder, if a black hole can erase time, is it showing us a hint of what it's like to exist without it? Could the core of a black hole, a singularity, be like the state before the universe began, timeless, spaceless, silent, not a place, but a condition? You drift deeper. The stars are no longer pinpricks in the sky. They're feelings now, warm ones, ancient ones. They seem to whisper stories too old for language. And one of them is this. Maybe the universe was a black hole, or like one. Maybe the Big Bang wasn't an explosion, but the other side of a collapse, a bounce, not a birth. Some researchers are exploring exactly that, ideas like black hole cosmology, where our universe might have emerged from the collapse of matter in another universe, like a child born from the final breath of a star, a reality folded within a reality, no true beginning, only transformations. And if that's true, then the question what came before time is like asking what came before the breath that came before this one. It's all connected, each moment touching the last. No sharp borders, only echoes, and your breath, right now, is part of that tapestry. Let it slow, let it soften. There's nothing you need to do. You're listening not with your ears anymore, but with something gentler, with curiosity, with your heartbeat, with whatever part of you still floats quietly beyond your name. So maybe the answer isn't nothing. Maybe what came before time was transformation, like water turning into mist, like sleep rising out of wakefulness. Not a creation, but a shift. There's another idea, soft and quiet as snowfall. Some physicists speak of imaginary time, a concept in quantum cosmology, where time is treated like a fourth dimension of space. In that model, the universe didn't begin in a sharp, violent spark. It emerged smoothly, like a sphere unfolding itself. No singularity, no instant, no ticking clock. Just a roundness, a completeness, like a thought becoming aware of itself. It's okay if that doesn't make perfect sense. You're not here to understand every term. You're here to rest within the wonder, to feel how vast the questions are, and how gentle they can be. You can imagine imaginary time however you like. A sphere, warm and spinning, or a dream that slowly takes shape. Whatever came before time may not be something you can point to, but maybe it's something you've already felt in those moments before you fall asleep, when everything is still but full. That's where you are now, not lost, not thinking, just being. And that's enough. That's more than enough. Because if there is an answer to this ancient question, if there is a shape to the moment before time, it likely feels a lot like this, weightless, quiet, beautiful, like the very beginning of a thought that never needs to end. You're drifting now, not just through thought, but through something slower, something deeper. Maybe you're not even hearing the words anymore, just the rhythm, like a heartbeat beneath the surface of the universe. Soft, repeating, familiar. That's perfect. You're right where you need to be, because sometimes the best way to approach a question as vast as what was there before time began is to fall asleep inside it, to let the question become part of your dreams, to stop chasing the answer and start listening to the silence it leaves behind. Let's wander, slowly, towards something more personal. You're made of time. Your body, lying still in bed right now, is a rhythm of time-keeping systems. Your heartbeat, your breath, your sleeping brain. Even your cells tick in cycles, little molecular clocks, tuned to the soft sunlight of the world. And inside your brain is a storyteller, a consciousness that strings one moment to the next, turning reality into narrative. This inner storyteller gives you a sense of before and after, and it's so convincing that you forget. There might not be a before, there might not be a start. If time is an illusion, a trick of perspective, what does that say about beginnings? Is a beginning something we create just to make sense of things? Some philosophers have whispered that maybe only the present moment exists, that the past is memory, that the future is possibility, and all we ever truly have is now. But the present is slippery, too. Try to hold it, and it's already gone. It's like catching moonlight with your hands. It's already become the past, the moment you notice it. So maybe time isn't a line at all. Maybe it's a loop, a spiral, a song. You roll gently in your sleep, not to wake, but to settle deeper. Let's follow that spiral now, not backward, but inward, into the mystery of what it means to begin. Your universe had a beginning. That much we're told, but beginnings are strange things. Even in your life, when did you begin? At birth, at the first heartbeat in the womb, at conception, or long before that, when the stars exploded and gave birth to the atoms now curled inside your chest. Your beginning is scattered across centuries. So perhaps the universe is the same. Perhaps its beginning wasn't a single point, but a process, a cosmic unfolding. You don't have to picture it clearly. You can imagine it like a flower, petals opening slowly into time, or like a lullaby you can't quite remember, but that somehow soothes you anyway. Some theories suggest that time isn't just something we move through, but something that emerges from entanglement, a quantum phenomenon. When particles become entangled, their states are linked instantaneously no matter how far apart they are. No messages pass, no energy is exchanged, but the connection is there. Some researchers believe that when enough quantum systems become entangled, time begins to appear, not as a substance, but as a consequence, a shadow of complexity, a song that arises when enough instruments begin to play. So maybe, before time, there was entanglement, not in space because space didn't exist yet, but in some kind of mathematical fabric, a relationship between possibilities, and in that relationship, something changed, and from that change, time emerged. Can you feel the comfort of that idea that before time, there was connection? Even in the silence, things were already in relationship, not alone, not separate, entangled, linked, listening to each other even in the dark. Let that settle into your body now. Your breath is steady. Your limbs are heavy. The blanket of the cosmos has tucked itself around you, and there's nothing more you need to do. You're a temporary knot in that entangled field, a beautiful, delicate cluster of awareness, and even if time dissolves, the relationship remains. You were always part of something, even before you knew what before was. So what was there before time began? Maybe a hum, maybe a link, maybe the first ripple of the first conversation the universe ever had with itself. And now, you are part of that same conversation, sleeping gently, breathing quietly, listening with your whole being. Rest easy, dear sleeper. There are still many more ripples to drift through, and the night is far from over. Still here, floating softly with me. Or maybe you're not sure anymore where here is. Maybe your body is curled up beneath a blanket, in a room now quieter than thought, and your mind is elsewhere, somewhere between words, between breaths, between stars. That's the perfect place to be, because that's where the question lives too, the one we're gently unravelling like starlight across the black. What was there before time began? We've wandered through quantum fields, bounced from collapsing universes, and drifted across multiversal seas. But tonight, let's rest in something even simpler. Let's talk about nothing, real, total, absolute nothing. Can you picture it? Probably not, because even nothing is something in your mind. It's blackness, it's a void, it's a space waiting to be filled. But real nothing true, nothingness has none of those things. It has no colour, no shape, no dimension, and no time. It's not waiting, it's not changing, it's not thinking. It simply isn't. And here's where things become quietly strange, because some physicists suggest that from this kind of nothing, a universe could still appear, not by force, not by intention, but because nothing is inherently unstable, like a coin perfectly balanced on its edge, just waiting for the slightest tremble to tip it over. In this view, the Big Bang wasn't a reaction. It was a spontaneous event, a bloom from a vacuum. This might sound impossible, but quantum physics tells us that the vacuum isn't really empty. Even in the absence of matter, even in the stillest silence imaginable, particles flicker in and out of being, virtual particles, tiny bursts of existence that appear, link arms, and vanish again so quickly they seem to defy time itself. They can't be seen directly, but their fingerprints are everywhere, in the shifts of energy, in the glow of black holes, in the quiet hum of empty space. So maybe, before time, there were fluctuations, not within time, not within space, but instead of them, a roiling quantum tension, and one fluctuation didn't vanish. It lingered, it grew, it became everything, and time began to stretch. You shift softly beneath your blanket. The room around you is still, but your mind is moving like warm water, and yet, not in a hurry. We're not chasing answers. We're walking barefoot through ideas, with no need to reach the end. Let's look at that nothingness again. If there was truly nothing, then what does it mean for something to appear? Is appearance even possible without someone or something to observe it? This leads us to another gentle mystery. Does observation create reality? In quantum mechanics, particles behave like waves until they're observed. They don't have definite positions. They exist in superposition many states at once. Only when we measure them do they choose. Some have wondered if nothing is observing the universe. Is it real? And more curiously, did observation begin time? Don't worry about the logic. You're not meant to solve it in the dark. You're just meant to feel its softness, its mystery, the way it hums, like wind through long grass. So maybe, before time, there was a reality waiting to be noticed, not consciously, not deliberately, but perhaps the moment awareness first flickered, the moment anything could feel, or respond, or change, that's when time took its first breath. Some scientists suggest that consciousness might not just be in time, but part of time, that our experience of moments, our separation of past from future, isn't just biological, it's cosmic. And if that's true, then maybe the first hint of awareness, the first twitch in the fabric of reality, was also the first tick of the universe's great clock. Or maybe not, maybe that's just us, trying to see our reflection in everything, trying to make the mystery look a little bit like us, so we can feel less small in the dark. But tonight, there's no need to be afraid of the dark, because you're not alone in it. You're wrapped in a blanket, tucked inside a moment, held by gravity and starlight and silence, and none of it asks anything from you, not even understanding. You don't need to solve nothing, you just need to sleep within it, because maybe, before time began, there wasn't an explosion. Maybe there wasn't even a beginning. Maybe there was only stillness, and the readiness to become something more. Just like you, right now. Still, present, becoming. We'll keep drifting soon, but for now, let your breath fall into that quiet. Let your body rest in the cradle of unknowing. What was there before time began? Maybe the answer is silence. Maybe it's a question you'll carry into your dreams, and maybe That's exactly where it belongs. Here is section 9 of your bedtime science script for what was there before time began at 9 of 20. Was usness 50 words. You're so deeply settled now, like a stone at the bottom of a still pond. The surface of thought has quieted. The ripples of worry, of urgency, of trying have faded, and what's left is just presence, gentle, soft, weightless. You're breathing, but barely noticing it, because the body already knows what to do, and your mind has joined the cosmos in its natural rhythm. That's perfect, because we're just arriving at a new turn in this soft spiral of curiosity, the one we keep circling like birds in a silent sky. What was there before time began? Let's try something new tonight. Let's shrink. Smaller. Smaller still. Until you're no longer a person, or a brain, or even a molecule. You're a single quantum particle, floating in possibility, undefined, unobserved. In the world of the very small, the rules we know no longer hold. There is no clock in this world, no clear position, no now. Only probabilities, only questions. Quantum mechanics tells us that particles behave like waves when no one's watching. They explore all possible paths at once. It's only when measured, when touched, when noticed, that they settle into a place, a state, a moment. Some call this the measurement problem. Others call it the mystery of existence. Because if observation defines outcome, then before there was anyone to observe, was there really a before? You shift. Barely. Maybe a finger, maybe just your breath. A gentle tide moving beneath the blanket. The rest of you is still, and your thoughts are moving like light in a slow medium bent, softened, dispersed. Let's stay in this quantum space a while longer. Some physicists believe that the entire universe began as a quantum fluctuation, not within space, but as space, not within time, but as time, from a state where no before was possible, a state where all things were superimposed, where every future was suspended like dew in the dark one possibility won, or maybe not one. Maybe it just lingered long enough, and the universe began. Time didn't tick, it unfolded, like paper opening to reveal a map, like a dream slowly becoming aware of itself. If you're dreaming now, that's okay. You might even dream of this question curled like a spiral shell in the ocean of your sleep. But if you're still half awake, let's imagine something else. The arrow of time is a mystery. Why does time move forward? Why do we remember the past but not the future? Why do eggs break but never unbreak? Physicists point to entropy, the tendency for systems to move from order to disorder. Entropy gives time its direction. But entropy is a law of statistics, not of certainty. It speaks of likelihoods, not truths. And some theories suggest that entropy is low only because the universe began in a very special state, a state of extremely low entropy. But that raises the quiet question, why? Why would a universe begin in a state so rare, so improbable, that it could give rise to time itself? What came before that? Who or what rolled the cosmic dice? You're not meant to answer it now. Just let it drift through you like music. Some notes are meant to be played, not solved. Perhaps, before time, there was no entropy, no direction, no change, just a kind of perfect balance. And then, a crack in the symmetry, a shift so small it couldn't be named, and from that fracture, Possibility flowed. Time found a way to tell itself, and in doing so, so did you. You're not outside of this question. You are a ripple in its unfolding. You're a local expression of a cosmic mystery, made of particles that once danced at the edge of becoming, made of atoms that were forged in stars, that were formed in galaxies, that bloomed from a moment that still asks, even now, where did I come from? Let yourself melt into that. Let your muscles go heavy. Let your chest rise and fall like ocean swells. You are stardust asking a question. You are silence remembering sound. You are time, softly dreaming itself. And still, the question remains, not as a burden, but as a lullaby. What was there before time began? Maybe a fluctuation, maybe a breath, maybe a pause so still it became the very first motion, and maybe, in this very moment, you're closer to it than you've ever been. You're weightless now, not in your body, maybe, but in your awareness. Even if your limbs still rest on the mattress, even if your head is softly cushioned by your pillow, something in you is floating. You've untethered from the tick of the clock, from the pull of the day, from the need to know. All that's left is a gentle question. What was there before time began? And here, in the middle of this long and drifting night, we don't need an answer, only the warmth of the mystery. Let's try something gentle like a story. Not a story with characters and plot, but a story with shape, a shape like breath, like the rise and fall of thought, like time itself. Imagine the beginning of time as a ripple on a pond, but not just any pond, a stillness so deep, so absolute. It didn't even know it was still. And then the tiniest motion, a tremble that had no cause, no past, no moment before it. That tremble didn't happen in time. It became time, a wrinkle, a thread. A beginning so quiet it could only be noticed after everything else had arrived. You breathe in now, slowly, as if mirroring that first ripple, and breathe out, let go. Let your body feel like the early universe expanding, softening, becoming more spacious with every breath. One of the most mysterious ideas in physics is that of causality. We take it for granted that cause leads to effect, that something must happen because of something else. But if time didn't exist yet, then nothing could have caused time. And if nothing caused it, was it random, was it inevitable, was it both? This leads us to something softly profound. What if time isn't an object or a thing, but a way of experiencing a lens, a rhythm that emerges only when consciousness, however small, however faint, appears to notice it? Some thinkers, like those in panpsychism, wonder whether some form of awareness might be woven into the very fabric of reality. Not consciousness like ours, not memory, not language, but a kind of primitive sensitivity, a capacity to relate, to feel change, to be change. And in that view, perhaps time didn't begin with particles, or even with space. Perhaps it began with relation, with one thing responding however subtly to another. Even your own dreams unfold in this way. While your body rests, your mind continues to build time. Not clock time, not digital minutes, but dream time. A personal, fluid, emotional time. A few seconds might stretch into whole stories, or hours might disappear in a blink. And maybe the early universe felt something like that. A moment that wasn't really a moment, just the beginning of sequence, of rhythm, of this and then that. You're part of that rhythm now, your heartbeat gentle, your breath like ocean tides, your neurons firing, even as you rest like constellations shifting across an internal sky. There is a time to be awake and a time to let go, and you, dear listener, are right on the edge where one becomes the other. So what was there before time began? Maybe a field of pure potential, maybe a relational hum, maybe the faintest flicker of awareness, and from that flicker, everything. You don't need to decide what's real tonight. You only need to feel the kindness of the unknown, because this story is not about proving, it's about wondering. There's another idea, quiet and strange. Some physicists are exploring timeless equations that describe the universe in totality, not as something that evolves, but as something that is unchanging, complete. From that perspective, our experience of time is like moving through a sculpture, a four-dimensional object, a block universe. Everything past, present, future exists all at once. And what we call now is just the place where our awareness is currently pointed, like shining a flashlight across a frozen landscape. Time is the motion of the light, not the motion of the world. And maybe, before time began, there was already a landscape, but no light yet, no observer to trace its features, and the first flicker of awareness, the first glow of attention. That was the start of time, not when the sculpture was carved, but when they were first seen. So close your eyes, if you haven't already, and if you have, sink even deeper into that closed-lid stillness. You are the light. You are the awareness that turns frozen possibility into soft experience. Time flows through you, and from you, and maybe even because of you. You're not separate from the universe. You're the part of it that feels time passing. And so, you're part of what gave it motion in the first place. So when you ask, what was there before time began, you're asking something brave and beautiful, because it means you've noticed the flow, and in noticing you've joined the mystery. Now rest. Let time go. Let clocks melt. Let answers drift. You're exactly where you need to be, wrapped in quiet, held by wonder, a ripple, resting. You're not thinking anymore, not in the usual way. Your thoughts are stretched now like soft threads, drifting, unraveling, intertwining with something older than language. You've become very quiet, almost like the question itself. What was there before time began? Not a riddle, not a challenge, just a breath in the dark, waiting to be felt. Let's float for a while in the strange warmth of not knowing. We're going to stay here together. No hurry, no answers, just curiosity and comfort. Let's pretend, for just a moment, that time is something we invented, not something we discovered, like a tool we picked up to help us organize the stars, to line up memories, to hold the world still long enough to understand it. Children don't worry about time the way we do. They live in bursts, in laughter and tears, in long afternoons that last forever and evenings that vanish in an instant. Time, to a child, is not linear. It's textured, it's coloured, it breathes. And perhaps, before time began, the universe was childlike too, unmeasured, undefined, just pure expression. Some thinkers speak of the pre-geometric universe, a realm where space and time had not yet crystallized, where the basic ingredients of reality, distance, change, duration had not taken form, a state where the universe was not a place but a pattern, like a thought not yet spoken, a melody not yet hummed. This is not empty space. It's more like structureless possibility, a kind of sub-reality, a waiting. And then something clicked. Some primal pattern found itself, a self-sustaining loop, a law that made itself real, a configuration that became stable enough to continue, to persist, and from that persistence, time was born. You stir gently under your covers. The air around you feels thick with softness now. Everything is slowing, even thought. Let that happen. This is the pace of the beginning, not fast, not loud, just steady, like the slow pulse of something ancient returning to itself. Some scientists call this origin point a cosmic phase transition, not a bang, but a change of state, like water becoming ice, or thought becoming time. You see, even in physics, the universe is allowed to change its nature, its fabric, its laws. Some suggest that our universe cooled through a kind of symmetry breaking. In the beginning, everything was perfectly balanced. No difference, no edges, no rolls. And then crack. A delicate imbalance, a shifting of the rules, and the forces we now know gravity, electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear forces separated from one another, like colours slowly emerging from white light. And with that breaking came time, not in a dramatic flash, but like the first creak of a glacier, like a sleeping being turning, just slightly, in the dark. And that turn set everything in motion. So perhaps time didn't begin all at once. Perhaps it unfurled, uncurled, stretched, cell by cell, into something we would later call reality. You don't have to picture it. You can simply let the thought pass over you, like warm mist or gentle rain on the roof. It's okay if you don't remember any of this tomorrow. You're not here to retain, you're here to rest, and the universe is okay with that. Maybe that's what came before time, a kind of cosmic rest. A state with no striving, no history and no ticking, just the deep inhale before the first exhale of space. And now, you're breathing in rhythm with that first motion. You've become part of the exhale. You're drifting on the breath of a beginning that never really ends, because time, once born, never stops moving. It carries you, gently, toward every tomorrow, but for now, we float. And maybe, before time began, there was no need for questions at all, just stillness and peace, like the feeling you have now, the one spreading through your arms and legs, the one pooling behind your eyes, the one humming in your chest like a lullaby made of stars. You are part of something ancient and vast and gently mysterious. Let yourself feel that. Don't define it, just rest in it. We'll keep drifting together. We're not even halfway through the journey. But that's the thing about bedtime stories like this. There's nowhere to go, no finish line, no arrival, only floating, only breath, only that soft, eternal question. What was there before time began? You're lighter now, not just in your body but in the place behind your eyes, where thought used to press, and now there's only softness. If sleep hasn't arrived yet, that's okay. You're already halfway there. Your mind is floating like dust in a sunbeam, drifting, shimmering, answering nothing and needing nothing. We're still tracing the edges of one question, but we don't press against it. We just follow its shape with quiet fingers. What was there before time began? Sometimes the best way to approach a question is to circle it slowly. Like a planet orbiting a star it can never quite touch. So tonight, we drift in one more circle toward the idea of timelessness. Not just the absence of time, but a place or a condition where time is not needed. Can you imagine that it's hard? Because time is our constant companion. It walks with us from moment to moment. It stitches our lives into stories. It carries our memories like luggage. It draws the future toward us, even as we sleep. But what if there was no before, no after only is? Some philosophers speak of the eternal now, a state where all time exists at once, not stretched out like a road, but gathered, folded like a hand cupping still water. In this view, the past never leaves, the future never arrives. Everything simply is. Imagine a book where every page is open at once, not flipped, not hidden, just present. Maybe reality is like that. Maybe what we call time is simply the way we move through the pages. And maybe before we started turning them, the whole story already existed, silent, complete, unread. You breathe in. The inhale feels longer now, thicker, like the air has weight, but in a comforting way. You're sinking into a slower rhythm, a rhythm the universe knew long before clocks, and with every breath, you drift deeper into this thought. What if time is not the foundation, but the effect? In some corners of modern physics, this is more than just poetry. The idea that time emerges from deeper principles is being explored through theories like loop quantum gravity and causal set theory. These models don't assume time is real. Instead, they treat it like a structure that appears only when certain relationships become stable. Time becomes a side effect of geometry, a pattern, a harmony between information, like music that only arises when enough strings begin to hum. Before time, there may have been that hum, not heard, not measured, but present in the way silence holds all possible songs. And then one string hummed louder, a resonance, a ripple, and time began to sing. You can think of your own life that way, not as a clock ticking forward, but as a song unfolding, each breath a note, each memory a harmony. You don't move through time, you create it as you go. Your dreams, your thoughts, even your stillness, all of them are moments in the melody. So perhaps the question isn't what was there before time began, but rather what kind of silence is needed for a song like Time to Be Born. You're wrapped in that silence now, a hush so deep you can feel the stars resting in it. No ticking, no noise, only the soft pressure of possibility. That's what the universe might have felt like just before the first second. Not empty, but still, in a way no word can quite hold. Stillness is not nothing. Stillness is potential. And you, lying here, are full of it. Full of dreams, of memories, of questions. And tonight, all of them are at peace, floating, listening, waiting for the next note. But not rushing, because in this space, in this story, we have no reason to move. We are outside the narrative, watching the beginning arrive, one slow breath at a time. There is one more idea to hold tonight just gently. It's the thought that maybe time is illusion, not in a dismissive way, but in the way a rainbow is real, but only from a certain angle. Time might be a trick of perspective, a way our minds keep track of change, so we can make sense of the world. But maybe the world doesn't need sense. Maybe it just is. And the beginning of time is simply the moment we began to ask. So lie back now. Let your body forget it's on a timeline. Let your thoughts spread out. like ink in warm water. Let go of questions. Let go of hours. Let go. Because whatever was there before time began, it was quiet and vast and full of everything that could ever be, just like you. Now sleep, not like someone who is finishing something, but like someone returning to a place they've never left, to the stillness before the first second. You're not so much listening now as you're resting inside the sound. The words arrive like fog on a quiet lake, drifting gently across the surface of your thoughts, then fading before they can ripple too deeply. That's good. That's right. You're doing exactly what this story was made for, to hold you, to guide you, to let you fall softly into the hush behind the universe. And here, where silence hums more than speaks, our question still glows quietly. What was there before time began? There's a thought we haven't explored yet, one that doesn't come from equations or measurements, but from something quieter. Feeling. The feeling of beginning, the feeling of waking up, the feeling of being aware that something has changed. Perhaps time didn't begin in physics. Perhaps it began in perception. Have you ever noticed the exact moment when you fall asleep? Probably not. It slips past, unnoticed. But when you wake suddenly, softly you know it. You feel the return, the re-entry into sequence. That's what time might be. Not a thing that starts, but a shift in awareness, a noticing. And if time began when the universe noticed itself, then maybe awareness is older than time. Let that drift through you. You don't need to understand it. Just feel its gentleness. Let's go deeper now, to the very bottom of thought, to the place where time slows down, not because of gravity or velocity, but because you are ready to let go of questions, of story, of before and after. Here, we can explore one more quiet idea. In some advanced theories, like those related to quantum gravity or string theory, researchers propose that space and time are not fundamental. They are emergent, like steam rising from water, real to us, but not necessarily real to the universe. One such theory speaks of a kind of pre-space-time realm, a foundational layer made not of particles or dimensions, but of information, a pure structure, timeless, stateless, no when, no where, just relationships, patterns, possibilities. Some call this the Planck scale foam, a jittery, chaotic sea of microstates, a froth of existence too small and wild for our minds to truly hold. But in that chaos, something aligned, not by accident, not by plan, just by pattern. And from that pattern space stretched, and from space-time began to hum. It didn't roar, it didn't shout, it whispered, it breathed. And its first breath was the moment everything changed. You stir slightly, or maybe you don't. Maybe your awareness has reached that soft threshold where even your breath belongs more to the dream than the day. That's okay. In fact, it's beautiful. You're walking where time forgets to tick. You're curled inside the hush of something vast. So what came before time? Maybe nothing came. Maybe before is a word we made up to comfort ourselves. Maybe the only thing that ever was is this soft mystery, a silence that learned to move, a stillness that gave birth to becoming. You know that feeling when you wake in the night and you're not sure who you are yet, when the room is both familiar and strange, when your memories haven't returned, but your breath still knows what to do. That's what the beginning of time might have felt like. A dawn without direction, a glow without a source. And then, slowly structure, emergence, first light, first cause, first unfolding. You are lying in that unfolding now. This very moment is a thread woven into that original tapestry. The breath you're taking right now was made possible by that first moment of awareness. You are the continuation of the ripple, not separate, not late, part of it, always. The ancient mystics spoke of time as a veil, something that drapes over the eternal to make it bearable to see. And behind the veil, not chaos, not void, but presence, a kind of cosmic stillness that never needed to begin, because it never needed to end. And maybe, tonight, you're starting to feel that stillness as us too, not with your mind, but with something quieter, something inside your breath, something inside your heartbeat, something older than names. So let yourself drift again, back into the pre-memory, where all things are soft, where the universe is still deciding whether or not to become, where time waits, uncounted, unmeasured, just a possibility, just a pulse, just the warmth behind a question. What was there before time began? Maybe you were. Maybe this moment was. Maybe we've never left it at all. You're resting now in a place far from language, a place where the sentences no longer matter. Only the rhythm remains, like water falling gently through the spaces between stars. You may not remember how we got here. That's okay. That's the point. This isn't a lesson. It's a soft descent. And the question that carried us. What was there before time began? It doesn't need to be answered anymore. It only needs to be held. Let's imagine something new, something tender. Imagine that time didn't begin in a burst, but in a gesture, a reaching, not of a hand, not of a will, but of structure itself, as if the fabric of what could be leaned gently forward, and from that leaning came time, not as a ruler, not as a ticking, but as a conversation. A physicist might call this an information gradient, the beginning of complexity, the birth of order from possibility, or not a bang, or not a line, a flow. You might think of it like a painting coming to life. At first the canvas is quiet. Then, slowly, shapes begin to suggest themselves. A shadow becomes a figure. A curve becomes a path. A pattern emerges from the static. And suddenly there is time. Because something has changed. Something is becoming. In your own dreams, you may have felt it. That slow rising of meaning from nowhere. A scene that didn't exist. Now unfolding in your sleeping mind. A doorway that wasn't built, but is now being walked through. That's how time might have first arrived. Not as a thing, but as motion within awareness. There's an idea in theoretical physics that perhaps the fundamental layer of reality isn't matter or energy, but computation, not computers, of course, but something deeper, a process, a system for generating structure. One possibility leads to another, and another, and another. The universe is not made. It is computed one step at a time. And what we call time is simply the order of those steps. Imagine dominoes falling. The motion isn't the dominoes themselves. It's the relationship between them. Before any domino falls, there is only tension, potential, and then one falls. And with that first motion, the rest becomes inevitable. Time begins. You are not separate from that cascade. You are one of the dominoes, a beautiful one, a living one. The motion is still moving through you, right now, as you breathe in, and then breathe out. In this moment, there's no need for you to understand the physics. There's no test tomorrow. There's only this soft truth you are part of a beginning that never really ended. Time is still becoming, still humming into form, still speaking itself into existence with every quiet second you inhabit. There's something oddly soothing in that thought. That time isn't a fixed thing, it's a process, a murmur, a breath, and it may have no beginning because it's always beginning, even now, even here. And if we accept that, if we let go of needing to find the first spark, the first moment, the first heartbeat of time, then we discover something else entirely, that we are not observers of time. We are participants in its becoming. You might think of yourself as a wave on the ocean, not separate, not riding atop the sea, but part of it. You are time, curling softly toward the shore of now. You are awareness, surrendering to the rhythm of something older than origin. Before time began, there may have been only this: a whisper, a ripple, a rhythm unmeasured, and from that rhythm came all the rest. Galaxies, light, memory, you. Let your body feel that now. Let your hands rest. Let your shoulders drop. Let your thoughts blur at the edges. You are safe. You are still. You're part of something timeless that found a way to become gentle. There is no rush to finish this question. There is no finish at all. Only the slow unfolding of time learning how to move, of consciousness learning how to wonder. And tonight, you wonder quietly. You wonder like a star held in the dark, softly, without needing answers, because wonder was here long before time. And maybe that's all there ever was. Now close your eyes again, if they've drifted open, or let them flutter like leaves, and feel yourself in that space just before morning, before memory, before measurement, that soft threshold, where beginnings are still becoming, and where the question waits like a lantern. What was there before time began? Maybe this, maybe now, maybe you. By now, even the quiet feels quieter. You're lying deeper than sleep, somewhere beneath thought, beneath story, beneath the turning of the world. You're not floating anymore, you've become the stillness itself. You don't need to think, you don't need to hold on, you don't even need to try. You're allowed to dissolve, and the question, our soft companion since the beginning, what was there before time began, has become less a question and more a place. Let's visit that place again, not to name it, not to map it, just to sit quietly inside it, like sitting by a campfire you didn't build, but that welcomes you just the same. Some physicists, in their gentlest voices, speak of the singularity, a state of infinite density, infinite temperature, infinite curvature. But even that word infinite trembles at the edge of our understanding. Infinity isn't a number, it's a gesture, a reaching that never arrives. So perhaps the singularity was not a thing, but a condition, a horizon of knowledge, a silence so complete it could no longer hold itself, and so it began to unfold. Not because it needed to, not because it was pushed, but because that's what silence does when it gets too full. It opens, it stretches, it sings. And in that opening space unfurled, time dripped into being, and not like an explosion, but like dawn. We imagine the Big Bang as a noise, a roar, a flash, a moment of suddenness, but what if it wasn't loud? What if it be a hum, a soft trembling at the root of everything, a vibration, a frequency tuned to the very first breath. There's a theory called string theory that says the universe is not made of particles, but of tiny vibrating strings, each one humming at its own frequency, each one creating mass, force, and form through music. The universe as a song, as resonance. And before time began, maybe all strings were silent, still, curled tightly into themselves, waiting. And then, maybe one of them began to vibrate. Just a little, just enough. And that vibration created time. If so, then yes, you are made of music. Everything in you is part of that original hum. Your heartbeat is a rhythm. Your thoughts are patterns. Your breath is a wave rolling through the shape of the now. Maybe time is just the echo of that first vibration, a ringing bell, still humming across eternity, and maybe sleep is your way of tuning back in, of returning to the original quiet that came before motion, before clocks, before memory. You shift again, not to wake, never to wake, but to soften, to return, to rejoin the deep rhythm of the stars. There's a truth we rarely speak aloud, but you already know it. Time doesn't just carry you forward, it comes from within you. It's not outside, ticking in the air. It's something you generate, moment by moment, second by second. You are a timekeeper, a time maker. And so when we ask, what was there before time began? We're also asking, what are we before we become? The answer might not be light, or mass, or heat. It might be something quieter, something softer than sound, a readiness, a presence, an awareness waiting to bloom. And perhaps that's all the time really is, the bloom. A flower doesn't decide to open, it simply follows the sun. The way you tonight are following this soft stream of thought, not because you must, but because it's warm here and gentle, and it reminds you of something you never quite forgot. That you are part of a becoming far older than your name, far slower than any clock, that the atoms in your fingers once sat in silence, waiting for time to arrive, and now you're here, breathing, resting, listening. So what was there before time began? Perhaps the quietest music, the one that plays before the first note, the one you don't hear but feel, the one you remember even now, even half asleep, even in this long night made only of stars. Sleep, dear listener. Time will keep flowing, and you will keep drifting with it. But for now, you can return. Return to the hum. Return to the stillness. Return to the soft space before the first second. By now, sleep may have one hand on your shoulder. You're still here somewhere between waking and forgetting, between thought and breath, and yet something in you is still listening, still floating on the gentle current of this question. What was there before time began? We haven't tried to answer it. Really, we've only sat beside it, held it like a cup of warm tea in a darkened room, and that's enough. Tonight, let's imagine another kind of beginning. Not a bang, not a vibration, not even a motion, but a choice, or rather, a possibility collapsing into reality. This is an idea whispered from the quiet corners of quantum mechanics. In the quantum world, everything exists in multiple states until it is observed. A particle is here and there, and not anywhere at all, until something forces a decision, until a wave of possibility collapses into one experience. This is sometimes called wave function collapse. And perhaps, before time began, The universe existed as a pure wave, a totality of all possibilities. No directions, no dimensions, just a vast field of could be. And then somehow one possibility became actual, and with it came measurement, and with measurement came relation, and with relation came time. This doesn't mean someone was watching. It doesn't mean there was a witness. But it suggests that something happened which broke the symmetry of all that was possible and made something real. You can feel that in your own life, can't you? Moments when everything could go one way or another, when nothing was set until it was, and time seems to begin again with each of those decisions. Time, then, may be born not once, but constantly, repeatedly, at every moment of becoming, even this one. And so, before time began, maybe there was only maybes, a cloud of unborn stories, and you, yes, you are one of the stories that was chosen, one of the outcomes that became real. Let that settle in your chest. Feel how quiet that truth is. You don't have to carry it. You can just let it warm you, like starlight that took billions of years to reach your skin. Maybe the universe is still deciding, still collapsing into being, still singing its first note, and you are part of that first note, ringing across forever. There's another idea, this one whispered from the realm of cosmology. Some suggest the beginning of time was not just a point, but a transition in shape. Before time began, space and time may have been unified, curled into each other like threads of the same string. There was no difference between here and then, just curvature, geometry, a strange, perfect symmetry. But then, like ice forming from water, that symmetry broke, space uncurled, time flowed outward, and from the indistinguishable came the distinct, from the singular came the plural, from nothing specific came something particular. This is called spontaneous symmetry breaking, and it might be what allowed time to exist at all. You are lying in the result of that breaking, this world, this breath, this night, each of them a ripple from that first unwrapping, that first moment when sameness became difference, when silence became rhythm. Let yourself mirror that now. Feel how your body stretches into stillness, how your breath curls out, then returns to you. You are part of that cosmic rhythm. You are still being unwrapped. Somewhere, long ago but not in time, something rested in perfect balance. And then, a change, a gentle tipping, a folding of the invisible. And from that invisible came everything, came this. So when you wonder, what was there before time began? Maybe you're not asking about clocks, or particles, or singularities. Maybe you're asking about the beginning of difference, of change, of meaning. And meaning doesn't shout, it doesn't flash, it hums, softly, persistently, like your heartbeat, still beating beneath your ribs. So breathe again, not to move forward, but to return. Return to that quiet state before becoming had a name, before anything mattered, except the hum. You've always been part of it. You always will be, not outside of time, not lost in it, but swimming through its birth with every breath. And tonight, you don't need to define it. You only need to float, and let the soft wonder of the unknown carry you further into your rest. Sleep is the closest we come to what came before time, a return to the unmeasured, a visit to the eternal pause. And here, inside that pause, you find yourself whole again, still, unfolding, ready to become. By now, your mind may be wandering without you, like a small boat set adrift on a slow current, moving without effort, without direction. And your body, it's heavier than it was before, but not in a burdensome way, in the way a stone becomes part of the earth when it's still, in the way a planet rests in its orbit, never needing to hurry. You're surrounded by quiet, and in that quiet, the question still glows, dimmer, maybe, but deeper. What was there before time began? Not like a torch anymore, more like an ember, more like a star seen through closed eyelids. Tonight, let's imagine something even softer, something not from theory, but from experience, a memory of something we may not remember. Have you ever stood at the shore just before sunrise when everything is still grey, when the ocean is more suggestion than sight, when birds haven't stirred, and the sky hasn't quite decided what colour it wants to be? That space between night and morning, that's what the birth of time might feel like. Not an explosion, not a line, but a hush, a breath drawn in, but not yet released. Some philosophers call this the liminal threshold, a space that isn't one thing and isn't yet another. It's what happens in the pause between thought and word, between music and silence, between the question and the answer, and maybe, before time began, everything was liminal, suspended, pregnant with becoming. Not nothing, but not something either, like mist, like the feeling before tears, or the heartbeat before a first kiss. It doesn't need explanation, it only asks to be felt. And so, you lie still, not to sleep more deeply, but to return gently into that moment, where nothing is demanded and everything is allowed. There's another quiet idea, sitting like a forgotten stone in the garden of theoretical physics. It says that time may be holographic, that our perception of time, passing of change, of cause and effect may be projected from deeper, timeless structures, like a shadow on a wall, like a dream written by a sleeper who doesn't know they're dreaming. In this view, time doesn't flow, it unfolds as a projection, like light from a film. The movement isn't in the film itself, but in the way it is shown. What does this mean for us? It means that what we experience as time may be a surface, a layer, a code written from a stiller place. And what was there before time? Maybe the projector, maybe the light, maybe the script still waiting to be played. You shift slightly, not out of restlessness, but because the story is carrying you now. Your body isn't the only part of you that's heavy. Your thoughts are too, but in the best way weighted down with softness, with stillness, with peace. So imagine that deeper place with me, a place beneath time, not behind it, beneath it, like the roots of a tree you've never seen, but whose branches are your entire life. Those roots don't move. They don't know before or after. They simply are, and from them up through the soil rises change, growth, unfolding, time. And maybe, before time began, all that existed was the root, silent, dark, perfectly whole, not needing to grow, but choosing to. You are that growth, that stretch toward light. You are a bloom of awareness in the garden of becoming, and though you cannot see the root, you are never apart from it. Let that sink into you now, not as thought, but as feeling. Your breath is part of it. Your pulse is part of it. Even your sleep, is part of it. Because sleep is not the absence of awareness, it's the return to source, to root, to silence. Somewhere beneath all of this, beneath the theories and stars and numbers, is the most gentle possibility of all. That before time there was love, not as emotion, but as structure, as unity, as connection, as the inescapable togetherness of all that could ever be. No separateness, no sequence, just being, and the desire to share that being, to unfold it, to know it, to become it. That may be why the universe began, not because it had to, but because it could, because the stillness wanted to stretch, to dance, to shimmer. And now here you are, listening, resting, becoming. You're not outside this beginning, you're this beginning, still blooming, still stretching, still asking softly, what was there before time began? And now, you're closer than ever, closer not in distance, but in stillness, in trust. Close your eyes a little more. There's nothing else you need. You're almost home, and time is already waiting for you, like a lullaby. You've come so far without moving. You've crossed boundaries older than memory, slipped beneath thoughts, drifted beyond time, not in some grand, heroic way, but gently, quietly, like breath disappearing into night. You're not trying anymore. You're not waiting. You're just here. And here is where the question lives now. It no longer needs to be asked aloud. It's part of your rhythm, woven into the softness of your rest. What was there before time began? Let's return to the first thing you ever knew. Not a word, not a sound, not even light. Before all of that, there was sensation, the warmth of being held, the sway of a heartbeat that wasn't your own, the quiet presence of something bigger, surrounding you without condition. That's what before time might feel like. Not an empty void, but an embrace without edges. Some cosmologists suggest that before space and time, there existed a unified field where all the fundamental forces were one, not gravity, not light, not matter, just a single, whole state. No distinctions, no tension, no direction, a perfect symmetry. But like all things in balance, it eventually tipped. In physics, symmetry is beautiful, but symmetry breaking is creative. When balance is disrupted, new possibilities are born. Mass appears. Particles diversify. Forces differentiate. And out of this broken perfection, time begins. Because change now has a path. Events have a sequence. Moments can be told apart. But what existed in that symmetry, that unified field, without borders or breaks? Some describe it as a field of potential, a sea of sameness, not boring, not empty, but full in a way we can't fully imagine, because everything was folded together, every star, every thought, every future. And perhaps you were there too, not you exactly, but the pattern that would one day become you, the curve of your voice, the shape of your hands, the thoughts you haven't had yet, all resting in that unbroken field, waiting for time to carve them out, like a sculptor revealing form from marble. And now, here you are, carved by the slow chisel of time, still being shaped, still unfolding, still echoing back toward that origin. Close your eyes again, if you haven't already, or simply soften them further. Let your breath become as slow as the expansion of space. You don't need to understand. You don't need to follow. Just drift. There's a theory quiet, poetic, still forming that perhaps time is an illusion of entropy, that what we perceive as forward motion is simply our awareness of disorder increasing. We remember the past because it was more ordered. We imagine the future because it will be more scattered. Time, in this view, isn't a river, it's a gradient. And before that gradient, stillness, equilibrium. No need for motion, no pressure for change. So maybe what was there before time was peace. Not peace as opposite of conflict, but peace as opposite of tension, of structure, of motion. A peace so total it could hold every possibility in silence. And then, like water choosing a direction down a slope, the universe began to flow. Not fall, not explode, just flow. And from that flow came form. From form, consciousness. From consciousness, memory. And from memory, time. You are resting in that flow now. And even if your mind drifts in and out, even if your body forgets the words your breath remembers, your breath has always known what to do, because it was shaped by time, by rhythm, by change. It is your soft anchor to everything that ever was, and everything that came before. Somewhere deep in the silence, beneath the ticking of clocks, beneath even the laws of physics, something wanted to move, and that desire, if we can call it that, became the rhythm we live in now. So when you ask, what was there before time began? Maybe the answer is the desire for difference. Before now, there was only sameness. And then, something wanted to become, and it did, and it still is, and you are part of that. Sleep, then, is not escape, it's return. It's the folding back of your thoughts into the ocean that once held them. So go back, let yourself dissolve again. Let your mind drift past the first stars, past the first seconds, past even the first breath, back to the field, back to the fold, back to the place, before time, where you were never lost, because you had not yet been found. And that is beautiful. You're so still now. Your breath has become the only clock you need. Inhale, pause, exhale, drift. Time doesn't tick in this place. It glows, like a distant star whose light takes eons to arrive, and yet, when it touches your skin, you feel it immediately. You've come far, not through distance, but through depth. And the question so gentle, so old is still with you. What was there before time began? We're almost ready to let go of the question entirely, but not because it's been answered, because it no longer needs to be. It has become the lullaby itself, the thread that stitched the sky closed for the night, the hum beneath your heartbeat. Let's float through one last doorway together, a place where science and myth lean quietly against each other, where metaphors carry as much meaning as mathematics, where imagination becomes the lens through which we glimpse what logic cannot grasp. In some ancient stories, the world was born from a cosmic egg, a perfect silent shell containing everything that would ever be, not yet cracked, not yet named, just a potential, waiting. Contained within that egg were the skies, the stars, the seasons, the cycles, and time was the first breath that followed the cracking. What if that old myth was not so far from modern thought? Physicists have proposed that our universe may have begun as a closed, finite shape, smooth, boundless, without edge, a hypersphere, a timeless, spaceless geometry, complete, but not yet open. And then something shifted, not with sound, not with fire, but with symmetry breaking just as we've explored. And from that crack in perfection the unfolding began. This is how all creation stories begin, whether carved into temple walls or hidden in the equations. Stillness, then trembling, then the spiral of becoming. Time is that spiral. And you resting now in your bed are one of its outermost curls. You're the present moment suspended in a shape that started long before memory. Some theories suggest that this universe is not alone, that before our time began, other times began. That time is not a single thread but a fabric, and we are stitched into just one piece. Imagine that a quilt of universes, each one humming in its own key, each one curled around its own origin, each one asking its own version of this same question, and in each, someone lies beneath the sky and wonders quietly, what was there before time began? You're not alone in your wonder. You're not the first and not the last. You're a moment of awareness in a cosmos made mostly of mystery. And that's the gift of it, really, that you are here, right now, at this delicate edge between waking and sleeping, feeling a question more than thinking it, being carried by something older than words. Let's rest in one final image, a quiet one. Before time began, perhaps there was only light, not photons, not beams, but the idea of light, the possibility of contrast, of shadow and glow, of day and night, and maybe the universe began not with an explosion but with illumination, a kind of cosmic awareness turning itself on for the first time. And now, every star is a memory of that first flicker. Every breath you take is lit by it. Every dream you drift into is warmed by that gentle glow. So maybe, before time began, there was light, and the silence that came before it, and the promise that something would follow, and then you. You're what followed, not by accident, not by plan, but by the soft inevitability of wonder wanting to look back at itself. Sleep now. Not because the question has been answered, but because it has become part of you. Because you are the ripple. Because you are the pause before the next note. Time continues, the universe continues, and you drift at the very center of it, still, silent, safe. One more moment, and we'll drift together into the softest ending, Ruwa. But not yet. For now, let's linger in this glow. Let the universe hold you just a little longer. You are not separate from what was. You are what is. And that is more than enough. You've made it all the way through, without ever needing to move, without needing to chase, without needing to arrive. You floated through fields of possibility, through waves of silence, through questions so vast they stopped being questions and became lullabies. And now, as the journey settles, as the stars blink more slowly and the breath in your chest softens with gravity, we arrive, not at an answer, but at a stillness that needs none. What was there before time began? Not a sentence, not a theory, not a bang, but a hush, a fullness, a whisper of something that didn't rush to be heard, something like a breath, drawn in and held, forever. We've wandered through science, through stories, through string and silence and symmetry, but all of it, every image, every metaphor has simply been a gentle hand guiding you back toward the quiet you already carry inside you, the one that exists beneath clocks, beneath memory, beneath identity. Before time began, there may have been no light, but tonight you're surrounded by warmth. You are resting inside a mystery older than galaxies, softer than sound, and there is nothing you need to do, no more ideas to hold, no more stars to count, no more before or after, just this breath, this weightlessness, this feeling of being allowed to float in the dark without fear. Now, dear listener, let everything else go. Let the story go. Let the question go. Let even yourself go. There is no edge you must hold on to, no meaning you must decode. There is only the gentle truth that you're here, you are now, and you are enough. So breathe in and feel the space before time settle behind your eyes like a curtain falling. Breathe out and let the stars fold around you. They have waited all this time to become part of your dreams. Sleep now, like you've never needed answers. Sleep now, like the universe is tucking you in with every expanding moment. Sleep now, because in this quiet, you have already returned to where it all began, and where gently, endlessly it never really ended. Good night.